Welcome everyone, I'm Patrice and this is Navigating the Journey, episode 15, Foresight before Hindsight. When you hear the word foresight, what comes to mind? According to Cambridge Dictionary, foresight is the ability to judge correctly what's going to happen in the future and plan your actions based on this knowledge. Because it's dependent upon the unknown, basing your approach on foresight can be one of the most difficult things to accomplish in work and in life. Learning how to apply this along your journey will allow you to achieve things that may seem impossible or even out of reach, as well as create sustainability in your life as it relates to things that matter. So let's navigate. In my line of work, there's constant conversation around foresight. Every day, I'm challenged to think 3 to 5 years in advance to create a plan based on what I believe will be true. I use several factors and dependencies to make educated predictions, including knowledge of what has transpired in the past. When I started this role, I remember asking myself, how could I apply these same practices to my life? There were many times where I felt like I was being reactive to situations and instances that I felt like I should have seen coming. If I would have applied the approach of envisioning the long view for paths I was navigating, perhaps I could have avoided some of the roadblocks and detours I encountered. You don't have to possess special powers to have foresight. However, it is more than just manifestation. In fact, having foresight will allow you to be more specific in the things you manifest. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, what could be the potential impacts of something years down the road? How can it benefit or hinder you long term? Is it intended to be sustainable beyond the immediate future? For example, starting this podcast was never about the numbers. It was always about creating something sustainable, making an impact in the lives of its intended audience, and possibly leading to fulfill my desire to do some form of motivational speaking. The podcast space is very saturated, and sometimes when you're in a crowded space, it's easy to get discouraged. Because of that, it was important for me to create a roadmap on how I would achieve sustainability and define success. I applied foresight to consider the barriers or obstacles I might face as I worked towards the future state of where I wanted to be. Doing that has allowed me to stay focused on my long-term goals in moments where my confidence may waver. There's no rule book on how or when to apply foresight, but I believe there's something within each episode of this podcast that can contribute to building a toolkit for applying foresight to your journey. In episode 2, Keeping Your Cup Full, I encourage you to pour into yourself and to be where your feet are. Foresight is about anticipating the long-term outcome. But before you can successfully do that, you must become really good at being where your feet are. The more you pour into yourself, the better you become at living in the now, and the easier it becomes to understand where you want to be. In episode 3, Sacrifice versus Abandon, we discuss the importance of understanding that the two aren't synonymous. There will be times where you may need to sacrifice things to achieve incremental success, but foresight can reveal why you shouldn't abandon them. Something that may not help you immediately may be a game changer long term. In episodes 4 and 5, the 4 R's, we discuss the season of reflection. This season is the perfect time along the journey to really utilize those moments of stillness to apply long-term thinking and map out your ultimate goal. We discussed framework and foundation in episode 6, blueprint for the new year. And both of these are imperative as it relates to foresight. There will be times when you don't accurately judge what's yet to come or what's possible. Times when you feel like if only you'd seen the writing on the wall sooner. In those moments, you have to be able to trust and rely on your framework and foundation to hold you up and support you against the elements. In listening to episode 7, What's Stopping You, we learned that if you want to accomplish something or make progress, you have to be both a thinker and a doer. Having foresight and knowing where you want to go is pivotal in executing those two principles. Episode 8, Recalibrating Your Expectations, discusses the difference between thinking big versus thinking unrealistically, and how to ensure you're not being anchored by unmet expectations. Having foresight will challenge you to think big, but realistically when creating your plan for the future. In episode 9, What's Your Brand?, we discuss the importance of brand ambassadors. The foresight of your brand ambassadors to speak highly of you can help you gain opportunities that will allow you to experience unimaginable things and cultivate relationships that can be leveraged later in your journey. In episode 10, we talk through the letters in invest. While each letter has its own importance, the S in speak things into existence and the T in transform the way you think both require having foresight. These two things are foundational in how you view things long term. In episode 11, we confirmed that nothing else matters if you can't embrace your happiness. You can have as much foresight as you want, but in order to achieve your goals, you must first believe you deserve them. Foresight is all about the big picture view. In episode 12, There's Triumph in Your Purpose, we discussed how when you can see beyond the work and instead see the outcome, your purpose becomes more fulfilling. If you're able to do that, foresight will not only give you the view of what's to come, but it will help solidify your purpose in the outcome. In episode 13, we discussed forgiveness. Forgiveness initiates peace and gives way to dropping the weight and embracing peace in your life. If you're carrying unnecessary weight, it will hinder your ability to move forward, thus impacting your ability to apply foresight or forward thinking to certain aspects of your life. The biggest takeaway from episode 14 is to not lose sight of your goals just because your vision changes. Foresight is all about planning for the unknown with the understanding that your end result may change. This episode will also show you how staying focused and trusting what you've seen or been called to do can lead to a rewarding ending. You can apply foresight to your career, your health, and even family and financial decisions. Once you're grounded in where you are, it's important to start thinking about where you want to be and how you're going to get there. If you struggle with thinking beyond the moment, I encourage you to add navigating the journey to your toolkit. There's a reason you should start planning for retirement well before you're ready to do so. There's a reason when you invest in stock, you don't just look at the short-term performance. There's a reason the windshield is always bigger than the rearview mirror. It's all about ensuring you're focused and prepared for the long-term outcome. If you find yourself thinking, Patrice, you didn't talk much about hindsight. That was intentional. Be thankful for where you've been, but now is the time to get prepared for where you're going. Foresight before hindsight. Foresight is what gave me the confidence to start this podcast, so it's only fitting that Foresight before hindsight concludes season 1 of Navigating the Journey. I'm beyond appreciative for the words of encouragement, the love, and the support I've received along this journey. I've got some big news coming regarding what's next for Navigating the Journey, so make sure you're following on Instagram and or Facebook. Please remember, these episodes are intended to be replayed as often as you need them. They don't have to be listened to in any particular order. Listen based on where you are in your journey. I'll be back with season 2 soon. And remember, as you navigate, it's okay to stumble over the blocks and step on the stones. Those are temporary detours, and your main road is just ahead.